All right, right now in the five series, we're going to look at five tracks that influenced me as a DJ. All right, so we're going to start off with this particular one here. Now, in my late teens, I used to go to this event on a Thursday called Ton Kung Fu. It was in the West End of London, in central London. And what it was, I used to go there for this. They used to have this after work kind of a mod night. We'd have a lot of mods with that kind of like a northern soul vibe, a lot of chewing gum and nodding their head. It was a cool kind of scene, and like I really dug it. It used to last from like 7 until 10. But I never stayed until later. Then one night I stayed for the event that was afterwards, which was this DJ playing these esoteric tunes, and there'd be like films playing in the background on this huge screen. And this one particular night I stayed later, and the first track the DJ played was Black Gold of the Sun by Rotary Connection, which is on this album, and it just blew me away. And I ran over to him. I said, "What is this?" He told me it's Black Gold Over Sun by Rotary Connection. And he said to me, "It's Minnie Riperton's group before she went solo." I was like, "Minnie Riperton? I grew up around Minnie." And anyway, that track sent me down a rabbit hole. It's like I'm always searching for that track. It's an indescribable track. It's like part psych, part folk, part soul, R&B. It's everything I look for in a track, and it sent me down that rabbit hole ever since. And it's one of my favorite tracks of all time. It's on this album. It's called Black Gold of the Sun, a hugely influential track, not just in my DJ taste, but in my personal taste. I say more so in my personal taste. All right. Now, next up, James Mason, Rhythm of Life. Now, there's a track on here, Sweet Power, which is a legendary jazz fusion track, right? And where I first heard this track, I used to go to this club called the Wag Club. And what happened? The DJ would play all these like funk, rare funk, that whole James Brown, Donald Byrd, Liston Smith, all those classic jazz funk tunes. And there came a point where he'd throw Sweet Power on, and it kind of separated. I don't want to say the men from the boys, but the kind of bystanders from the dancers, because there was a group of dancers that would just go in a frenzy to this particular song. And this is pre-internet, where to hear certain tunes, you had to actually go to the club. Only certain DJs had these albums because they were really rare. This is prior to them being reissued. And it dawned on me that there's certain tracks that just appeal to a small core audience, but you can still play it in a DJ set and get the DJ set hyped, just focusing on this small core audience that will go into a frenzy to that particular track. I wasn't DJing then. I never DJed until about 3 years after this event, but I carried that moment with me. And Sweet Power is an incredible track, and it's one of my favorite tracks of all time. Indestructible Art Blakey. On this track is a track called The Egyptian. Now I once did this DJ set for this guy, and it was like standard kind of a soul boogie funk set, right, in New York City. And it was like a 4 hour set, whatever, soul, boogie, funk, that kind of stuff. But as the event was winding down on like the first night, I threw on The Egyptian, which is like a 7 minute kind of like jazz foray, explorational jazz track. One of my favorite jazz grooves. And it was totally different to what I've been playing. But the owner was really into jazz. And he came over to me and we had a conversation about it. He was like, "You like jazz, I like jazz, whoop whoop whoop." And he hired me like I just did that night for like 18 months to 2 years straight, just based on the fact that we bonded over jazz. And it taught me that sometimes you don't have to just be locked in. You have to do what the client wants, but sometimes you can kind of step out of your or their comfort zone and it can bear fruit. And it definitely bore me fruit in that sense because we bonded and we're still friends to this day. So the Egyptian Art Blakey. Break out of your comfort zone certain times. It might pay off. And certain times it doesn't, but that's another story. This is a compilation of disco breaks, disco tunes. But on this compilation, there's a track called Love Dancing. which is a classic, I don't know, post punk, disco, funk, groove, just one of those inexplainable tracks. But heads that know it know it. I once saw the legendary Dave Mancuso, rest in peace, from the famous loft parties of the 70s. He did a DJ set in Union Square and he played Love Dancing, and he didn't blend it in and he didn't blend it out. He just played the full 12 inch for about 13 minutes straight. And I was like, you can do that? And I was like, yeah, you can do that. If a track is that heavy and that hard, and people just danced and flipped and roller skated and vogued and did what they had to do to this track for 13 minutes straight, he did not blend at all. And I was like, wow, that's a testament to this track. It's a testament to Mancuso, and it taught me something. You don't have to be an incredible blender or mixer as long as you've got the tunes. Definitely influenced me on that night. And look, I know this copy is beaten up. I've got another copy that's a clean copy based in storage and whatever, so on and so forth. But anyway, Quincy Jones Body Heat. I was at this club. I was at the Africa Center in my late teens years ago, and the DJ played a track off of this album. He played Along Came Betty, and it really affected me because I had this track in my house. I had this album in my house. It was an album that my parents would play, that my older brothers would play. I never played that much attention to it. We had Quincy Jones records in our house, but the DJ played it and it elevated it. And I was like, oh, this actually is. This tune I grew up on is actually a really dope track. And it was a stepper, and people stepping and dancing to it. And to add more fire to this track, the DJ left the booth, went and got a drink, and it just went into the next track, which is called If I Ever Get to Heaven. And once again, I'd heard that in my house for years. I heard it at the club, and I realized it's like a classic club stepper. I was like, I grew up on this album. I paid no attention to it, and it taught me you don't have to be a snob about music. You don't have to get these rare, obscure records to do a great set. There's music, great music all around you. It's all about your taste. And I carry that to this day. I'm not about the snobbery, I'm about the music. And we're Hi Fi Recluse, and our label is Good Find Records. And these are 5 records that influenced me as a DJ big time. Let's get it.